girls, we are going to be starting something soon called literature discussion groups, okay? And they're similar to book clubs, but there is a difference. So today, we're going to be watching a video of a teacher who's doing a literature discussion group with her students. It's not our school, it's a different school. And while we're watching the video, I want you to pay attention to a few things. I want you to think about, what does this literature discussion group look like, and what does it sound like? Okay? So think of those things in your mind while you're watching.
Our conversational moves that I really want you to focus on today during our discussion. If you look at them with me, you can agree with someone, but make sure you show that proof. Just in the same way you can disapprove with someone, you can disagree with what they say.
Is that Pat Bryson cares about the characters' feelings, and he also makes the characters in his books care about the other characters in the book feelings.
Well, I think yes, because he or she makes the book sound so real to life.
The way she writes her stories is like so good. Like you get hung on to the book and you want to read it and find out what happens.
Can't put it down.
Yeah.
Keep turning pages. Now that we are through with our discussion, I kind of would like for us to look back on our conversational moves that we looked at the beginning of the discussion and see how well you feel that you and your other group mates did on referring back to these norms in order to keep the discussion going.
What Marquis said about how their dad was talking about how her dad was talking about, like, boy, I'd like to see Nikki's face if I threw a tomato instead of a baseball.
So, and you had said that there was a lesson, so he was disagreeing with you,
Yeah.
but it was okay. He showed you proof as to how he disagreed.
Me and him had both a different opinion.
Was there anyone who used, I didn't understand, or I was confused when I thought I heard that from someone that, yeah.
Yeah, I was confused
Yeah.
why the father said that. Why should
Right, and we were able to answer that and kind of give our own opinions about that. That's a really important norm, I think, to follow, because everything that you read is not going to be crystal clear at times, but when you can come together as a group and try to iron that out, boy, can that make a lot more sense. I think you did an outstanding job on using a lot of these. I would like maybe to use a little bit more of what I think the author meant, maybe from the selection of words that they used or a particular phrase that they've used, and maybe we need to work on incorporating that a little bit more in our discussions.
So what did it look like?
Yeah, we all weren't into each other. Looking at the they're all slant. These ones are like, yeah, they're sitting on
I think that it's kind of like a analyze it.
Something that you saw.
Keep You're not speaking something.
All right, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
So, let's reflect on what the literature discussion group looked like. What were some things that you saw? And we've talked about some of these things before. So what should a literature discussion group look like? If I come into a room, what would I see? Ashlyn?
They were all at the same level.
Same level, yeah. Why would that help, Ashlyn?
Because otherwise some people would be tired.
What does that help you do? If you're all at the same level, what are you able to do with your eyes? Eye contact. When somebody's speaking, you should be giving them eye contact. So that helps you to make sure that you're looking at them when they're speaking, you're nodding your head, you're agreeing, or maybe you're thinking in your mind, oh, I have to share my idea next. Anna. Whole body listening. Yep. Explain that.
Like their eyes are on the movement and they're not laying.
Yeah, they're not laying down. They're sitting attentively. We can go back to slant, right? Is that what somebody was just going to say? Yeah. Sitting up, listening, acting interested, nodding, and tracking the speaker. You need to let the person know who's talking that you're listening to what they're saying. What else did it look like? Morgan?
They didn't tell each other that when they had ideas, they didn't be mean towards their idea. They respected each other's ideas.
Respected ideas. And to go along with that, they respected the speaker as they spoke. They were in control of their body, right? They weren't flopping around. They weren't looking off into space. They were making sure that they were focused and they were practicing slant, right? So I'm going to put that. We've already done lessons on slant. So I'm going to put that up there as well. What else did you notice?
Everyone was involved and they were like explaining it, and like one person wasn't kind of taking over the group. Like they were all involved in it.
They were all involved. And I'm going to put that under sounds like they were all talking, so each person spoke in the group, right? And they didn't. Each person spoke, they gave their ideas, right? But nobody took over the conversation and talked the whole time. Right? Let's talk about some things that it sounds like. And we'll go back and forth because some of these are so closely related. Leo?
It sounded like nobody was talking about what they're going to do at recess or something. They were all talking about the book and what happened in the book.
Stayed on topic, right? They discussed the book. Good. Aaron?
They didn't talk over each other.
They didn't talk over each other, right? So, and they didn't talk too loudly or too quietly. Remember, when we're talking to people in our group, we want to make sure they can hear us. So they used a good voice level. Brady?
They were using sentence starters.
What do we call those?
Oh yeah, talk.
Yeah, they were using their talk move starters, right? They called them conversational moves.
Yeah.
Same thing. So we've had lessons on talk moves. They were using some of those sentence starters to help them keep the discussion going, right? Good. Jenna?
When two people had different opinions, they'd say like your opinion.
Right. So we said respect, right? They respected each other's ideas. Yep. Nora?
They weren't like all talking at once. They were taking turns talking. Like when the teacher was talking, they weren't having side conversations and
Yep.
stuff.
They were taking turns. Only one person was talking at a time, and I think that's important. Does that mean that the rest of them weren't thinking in their minds what they were going to say? But they respected one another, and they waited till somebody was finished to add on to their idea or to agree or to disagree. Right? Melissa.
They had a really good voice level. Like one was like really like talking like.
Yep, exactly. They used a good voice level, so they talked loud enough for people to hear them, and then not too quiet or too loud. It's just perfect. Elise?
For look like sitting in the
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sitting in a circle. I think it was, where down here, you said something. They looked engaged. She said they looked engaged. They didn't look like they were bored. They didn't look like they weren't paying attention. They looked engaged, right? Could you tell, what about the materials they brought? What did they have with them to help them with their discussion? Gabe?
They had the book and their reading notebook.
Yep. So they brought all of their materials, right? That was the book they were reading, and they brought their journal, whether it was a thoughtful log or their reading journal. What did you notice about the teacher? Gavin?
The teacher was really like paying attention to everyone.
Yeah?
Like was doing her own.
Yep, teacher was engaged too. What else did you notice about the teacher? Paige?
She didn't take over everything now. Like she was letting the kids.
So I'm gonna put that under sounds like we didn't hear the teacher leading the discussion, did we? No, the teacher wasn't the one saying, okay, now we're gonna talk about this. Now we're gonna do this. The teacher was part of the discussion, kind of an equal member, right? All right. A couple more things and then we're gonna go to Justin.
They were really the kids were really focused on like on one certain book.
Yep. Oh, what did you notice about the books? Were they chapter books?
No, they were pictures.
They were picture books, so that might be a little difference too. We're going to be doing literature discussion groups with picture books rather than with chapter books. Our book club was with a chapter book, right?
Yeah.
Brady?
Who's the first literacy?
I will let you know in a little while. Anna?
And they weren't like reading in their books, like if they weren't like reading and looking through.
Right.
They were looking through their books, but they weren't reading.
I was going to say they did refer back to their texts, right? So when they had an idea and they said, oh, like on this page, when this happened, they would go back into the text to find an example, right? Does this feel like a lot of what we have been doing in class?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of differences, but it's always a good review to think about what a literature discussion group should sound like and should look like. Okay, so we're going to hang this up so that when we start,